and great to be back in a physical venue after a long, long time. This year has been interesting. This year has been strange, but it has actually been a year where technology has leapfrogged. Technology, telecom, and even media. I mean, it's been a different world altogether. So before we start, I think the one thing that all of us were discussing, what in a very simple manner, or in layman's terms, is 5G and AI all about? So does AI come before? And we've all been speaking about AI for the last decade. How does 5G really transform the use of AI, and what does it mean for all of us in our daily lives, in what we do, for it to really have that transformational impact across the world, across communities, businesses, societies? So for that, can I request Mr. Gupta, your remarks, and just for us to understand how that would work.
Thank you very much. Let me first thank the organizers of Convergence India 2021 Expo to give me opportunity to share the stage and share my views with you. I think the discussion today is right and topic is very apt today. But before we go into the topic, it is very important to understand that what is actually 5G in low general terms and how AI comes into. In general understanding, you can say 5G is a technology which provides very high speed broadband to the individuals. It gives ultra low latency and also provides to cater for a large number of devices which can talk into the network. Then you will say that what relates it with the artificial intelligence, because artificial intelligence is altogether a different area, and how it is related with the 5G. If you talk about artificial intelligence, it is a development which makes devices smart, which are able to take decision as the human beings are taking decision based on certain data. So if AI has to work, what is required is that you require a lot of computational power in the device. Now, if you require huge processing power in a device, then either the device will be too big and very costly, and therefore solution may not work properly. So what you require? Distributed processing, or normally we call edge processing or cloud processing, where smaller devices can do simultaneously the big functions. Now 5G has made it very easy, because when you talk to have huge processing capability with low latency and very high type of bandwidth availability, you can do simultaneous processing and you can reach to the results. And that is how merger of 5G and AI gives best output at low cost. So these are the two important factors, that we are able to use the distributed processing, we can use the cloud processing, we are working at the edge to further reduce the online delays which are likely to happen, and that is why it gives you a feel as if everything is happening just online. So I think
thank you, and I think that is the importance of all of this is real time. You know, for 5G to actually be operational, for the use cases in 5G to actually start working, it's actually dependent on how well AI is going to be used and implemented, whether distributed analytics or cloud storage, or embedding AI processing in the smallest of devices that we use. And I think the one question that I wanted to ask Mr. Biswas to you is, now with all AI applications starting to get infused into our daily lives and obviously dependent on 5G, the real factor around this is going to be real-time data science. How do you create hypotheses? How do you make sure that that data processing, which is immense and vast to support AI, is in place? So what really is the roadmap, not only for the telecom operators, but for the device manufacturers and for all of us to actually ensure that that data processing enables the implementation of 5G through AI.
Absolutely. I think that's a very apt point. And for the success of 5G, do we need killer apps? I mean, it's always has been a set of killer apps which actually, makes technology adopted at a mass scale, and that we're seeing already happening. And I think some of these the 5G, the key deliverables like the very low latency, tactile internet, and 1 Gbps throughput per user, and the edge computing capability, and splitting the network, the traditional access core edge scenario, more edge-centric network. So some of these key elements of 5G is actually making these, the applications which are to be delivered or which are to be made for has to be 5G aware, internet aware, data aware. Now to get those killer apps, all you need, it's like it all starts with data, ends with data. So for example, in 5G, one of the key concept is data, your network slicing. So now that slicing will only work. This is a great feature, fantastic. But will it work if your data is not enabled? If your slicing is going to be the best strategy, if the data has not been curated in a way that it can segment the users in a particular way. So I think the whole premise of the 5G is about the applications, the age, and the way the things has to be designed. So, for example, we are talking of virtual surgeries or surgeries done remotely, or the AR/VR applications. And so all of these are very data centric. I mean, you cannot take the real-time decisions, you cannot take those the last mile decisions accurately if the data has not been fed. So that's where your the key element comes, where the data has to be the forefront. It has to start with data, it has to end with data, and AI is the tool to convert that data to insight to decision. And that decisions process is well built into the 5G's infrastructure, or the way the whole thing has been designed.
Thank you for that. And I think if I look at it, the simplistic application of AI in everyday lives of all of us, backed by some significant improvements in how we do data analytics or data analysis, dice data. And then when you combine all of this, I think one other element, Mr. Bali, that I would ask you is that from an operator's perspective, are the operators actually going to use AI to implement 5G? We've been talking about 5G applications for end users, but I would like to throw it back and say, what is the role of AI in implementing 5G as far as the operators go?
Thank you. When I got this topic, I was seeing it from both the sides, because most of the time when we talk, we need 5G for AI, but here the question is that, AI, how we can use for 5G networks. So actually, I just go back 5 or 8 years back or 10 years back, we as operators were trying to optimize the networks, and it was done through maybe manual interventions. In 2G networks, for example, there were 8 channels, and during the daytime you find that the voice traffic is very high, data traffic is low. So a lot of adjustment we used to do, that 6 channels will give it to voice and 2 channels to data. And then in the night time, after maybe 10 or 11, voice level goes down and then data requirement goes up. So you attribute 6 channels to data and maybe 2 channels to voice, like that. So it was all done based on some data, but it was done maybe manually. Now artificial intelligence for even 4G network and now in future 5G network, I think it will be done on most dynamic basis, like depending upon situations, circumstances, minute to minute, you're observing where the allocation has to be given so that the maximum utilization of network can be taken. So that is like one huge case. But then artificial intelligence will be used in multiple. I think the biggest cost for any telecom operator is service side, and service side it needs a lot of people, and then when you have that, then training those people, giving them almost the same kind of skill and knowledge was always a challenge. So now with artificial intelligence, you will be able to probably give a very uniform experience to people. Like if we are going to use bots, right? So you actually train bots in such a manner that ultimately customer experience is probably the best. So multiple usage, whether it comes to optimizing the cost, whether it comes to optimizing the networks, whether it comes to optimizing the manpower, I think artificial intelligence is going to play a bigger role. Only thing is that yes, in our country we had a lot of variables, which are not, where a lot of human intervention is there. I think gradually when we correct those data, I think artificial intelligence is going to give a lot of support to 5G network in overall optimizing the cost and efficiencies.
Thank you for that. I agree. I think artificial intelligence will probably be used to implement networks of the future, and that will define how cost effective they are. So, Mr. Lal and Mr. Jain, this is a question for you. For artificial intelligence by definition is you're creating intelligence. It works on a body of research, it works on hypothesis, it works on established principles. Now, it's all good to say that we will use AI in various parts of various fields of the economy, of society, etc. But what will it really take, and how ready are we as a country to actually create those use cases, or to actually create artificial intelligence? So, transporting intelligence through XYZ means, and creating a body of artificial intelligence that can be replicated and applied. So where are we on that journey? And I'm sure that's a very, very big and important process. No, I think the speaker. I think just.
Am I audible now?
Yeah.
Okay. So.
Now it's good.
Yeah. So that's an interesting question. It talks about our preparedness. It also talks about what it can do as a game changer. So clearly, India, like a few other countries, has the market for it, but maybe not the infrastructure in entirety. But then what happens is with things like 5G, you sort of increase the rate at which you can get there. So I will talk about India being ready a little later. Before that, a word of caution about AI. AI is a tool with a lot of potential, but it's relatively new, what that means is that we don't really know what it can do, and things that we do not want it to do. So lots of times you have autonomous cars working exactly right 99.59 times, but then that one accident that happens gets people worried. Now that's because, it's not because those accidents are larger in number than normally happen, but the problem is you don't know why that accident happened, because in your mind the team had trained it exactly correctly. They did not expect an accident to happen. So the thing with AI is that one has to be a little careful about how you use it, because there are certain things that you are unable to teach it despite your best efforts to make it do things that you want it to. But then again, in a country like India, there are a lot of other things that we can get it to do which are not as risky, which are not as complex. So intelligence is not about doing the most complex task, which is getting all the cars on the road to drive by themselves. That's an extreme case of artificial intelligence. But there are simpler things that an artificial intelligence can do. It can look at, for example, the temperature and moisture in the soil and let the farmer know that he should irrigate, or he's irrigating too much, or he's using too much of fertilizers. So AI certainly has a role to play in a country like India, because artificial intelligence is not just about fancy applications such as remote surgery and autonomous cars. It's also about empowering the people who have not, for whatever reasons, been able to get what they deserve.
Yeah. Thank you. I think very valid. Mr. Jain?
Sure. Thank you for having me. So my journey, my interaction with AI has been for quite some time now. I would say about 25 years now. My first interaction was while working for Microsoft in Seattle, when I created an algorithm for making junk get used to get. That time, the compute was very costly, the data storage was very costly, and I'm sure all of you know 15.4 kbps modem. Yes, we always used to think, okay, if I can get better compute. That was the challenge. Now it has been solved, storage problem has been solved, data is available. But yes, with 4G, a lot of other things can be enabled. We have enabled those while working for Reliance Jio. A lot of those parts, some of the examples we talked about, right? How can we optimize the network? How can we make sure the network quality is improved? And in my experience, you would have seen, right, September 2016 when Jio was launched, every few weeks, few months, the quality was improving. You can thank me for that. Some of the algorithm was essentially to use artificial intelligence and continues to optimize the network, finding out those clusters and everything. I think over a period of time, we have seen all the journey. Now in my current role as well at Capgemini as Chief Technology Officer, doing a lot of those areas, the small area, as we just one of our panelists mentioned today, how can we do it at a farmer level? Like the farmer in West Bengal, one of my team is working on to help them to understand the quality of the soil and also deciding. One of the things, the project we have done for Netherlands, finding out the quality of course using this. But always the challenge we always faced was network. How fast can we transmit the data and get back? So AI can become more powerful with 5G. The machine, your mobile and your laptop have certain capability. It cannot go beyond. So superfast computing, especially for audio, video, and images, I think you need a lot more compute. And now with 5G, if you can have the compute done on the server, you can still get the value. That's one case. At the same time, it will be the other way around, right? How AI is actually helping 5G adoption to be much, much better. Because when we were 4G, we have 3G, and things are working fine. But 4G enabled new scenario. The new scenario, the wow factor, some of us who are working on this are enabling this. So some of the client I'm working with, I think the demand is there. But what else can be done? And yes, with the data science now being adopted, especially in the COVID time, a lot of people are learning new things and all. I think more and more use cases will be able to enable. That's my submission in the
Thank you, and I definitely appreciate the network optimization part. I'm telling you, I'm sure everybody appreciates it. But then I have a question for Mr. Gupta's, and it's a very practical question. We all know how our phones are working in this area, and they're not. And if you go out on the road, the connectivity, the spectrum shortage, call drop rates, on an overall basis, I'm sure a lot of you will agree that the telecom networks are not as smooth as they should be, and especially when we're talking about really advanced applications and applications which have a deep impact on society, on business. So, Mr. Gupta, how will 5G improve that? One, or will we have a different network and a different telecom experience when 5G is implemented? Because if the experience is an upgrade of what we have, then I'm not sure if there'll be much implementation to do.
Thank you. I think it's a very important question and very difficult question to answer. Let me tell that the concept of network design and implementation has to be changed completely if we want to get the good output of 5G. I will give you a very layman's example just to demonstrate you as to what is the problem today, why you are not able to get the good quality of the telecommunication today. If I tell you that you have a house which doesn't have the light inside and try to put the light from putting so many towers outside and try to illuminate the house, will you able to illuminate the house? I think you will not be illuminate the house, and it will be irregular lighting and which may not meet your requirement totally. So what you do is that you put the bulb inside the rooms at the very appropriate location so that you get the proper light wherever you want. Are you doing the same for the telecom? No, we are not doing the same for the telecom. What we want is the tower should be as far away from my house as possible, but I should get the best signal available in the world. No, the two things are orthogonal, cannot work together. There is no justification to say that radiations are harmful. Government has taken a decision and reduce the permissible limits. They are monitoring very strongly. There is a website already available. People should not unnecessarily be perturbed that putting tower inside the colony or inside the building will create the problem. The requirement is allow telecom service provider to go inside the building, provide appropriate solution so that you get the best signal and best quality of service. Unless this framework of mind is not changed, I am afraid that 5G is not a miracle which can provide you good quality of service if we are not changing the method what I am doing. Today, in a society, for electric connection we pay and we welcome them. For power connection we pay, we welcome them. For water connection we pay, we welcome them. For sanitization we pay and welcome them. But when telecom service provider goes there, you say pay me and I will not allow you to enter. Now, why? He is going there to provide you the service. Unless you understand these basic fundamentals, that if you will not give right of way to him, if you not provide optical fiber to connect to their BTSs, there will be a lot of congestion in the network and you will not get the proper services. We are working on that. I think there is a requirement to simplify right of way. There is a requirement to bring a lot of in-building solutions. There is requirement to engage with the RWAs and the societies to educate them and create a very powerful infrastructure which can give a good quality of 5G services. Unless these things are adopted and everybody is made aware, I don't think 5G alone can give you a best experience of telecom services what we are talking about. Thank you very much.
No, thank you for that. I think that's an important point, right of way, our ability to put the infrastructure in the right way. And I especially like your analogy of lighting the house. I think very, very apt and maybe very simplistically gets people to understand. But Mr. Bali, the other challenge in 5G and AI as we move towards that is skill and is talent and is training. So how ready are we from our overall, from a skilling perspective? Because not having the right skills will also lead to a situation, no matter how great the network is, no matter how great our softwares are, of it not really being implemented and being effective.
So, for particularly we need skill in two areas, 5G as well as on artificial intelligence. Rather to be more precise, it is 5G plus all the big seven what we are talking. Everything we need, whether it is cybersecurity and all that. So, as a telecom sector skill council, we have got programs around on that. We have made curriculums around that. That process is ready. But the most important part, I think, which we all have to understand, most of these skilling courses are short-term skill programs. Most of these youth are skilled within a 3 months, 4 months time period. And here, there's a big chicken and egg story. Like if you skill people and if they don't get immediately absorbed, they have no interest to get skilled. And at the same time, if there are jobs, then if you are trying to find people and you don't have enough time to skill them. So what at Telecom Sector Skill Council we are doing, we are trying to bridge that gap in the sense that we are trying to connect these two silos. One is skilling part, the other is job or absorption part. And when we see these two, we are actually trying to make sure that when in actual 5G deployments happen in this country, we very quickly skill youth and they are able to, or they are available for it. Now, as far as other areas are concerned, there are already programs running. As and when the demands are coming, we are skilling people, whether it is artificial intelligence or cyber security or any related field or big data. We have got short-term programs which we are conducting and we are trying to make sure that as far as industry is concerned, I think there will not be much gap. One more thing which I would like to tell you based on my maybe 38 years of work experience, whether it was industrial environment or even in telecom or IT environment, I think whenever there are jobs or demand, I think we very quickly fill that demand by skilling people. So in this case also, I think we have no reason to really worry on this part, that whether we'll be having enough skilled youth. I think in this country that shortage will not be there. Now we are going another step ahead. We know that the world will be needing a lot of youth, skilled youth. We are also skilling youth today for rest of the world. We are skilling them on 5G as well as on other areas, so that they get absorbed. The moment these visas and all these issues are over, I think we'll have a lot of such mandates from international places. You know that with Japan we have an agreement. There are some other countries who are looking for youth from India on 5-year contract or 7-year contract. So we will be actually working to get youth absorbed in those areas.
No, I think that will be wonderful to create a hub, a talent hub in India, which could serve the world around 5G and AI applications. I think that's a vision that definitely resonates with what or the direction which the country is going on. So we've got infrastructure, and we've got the example of lighting a house. We need talent to fire up 5G for it to be effectively implemented and maintained. But I think, Mr. Lal, the question that I have for you is, so what is there in it for the operators? Is it just a simplistic upgrade of their services, 2G, 3G, 4G? Or does this really mean an exponential business opportunity for the operators as to why should they put so much money behind it and transform the whole area?
So that's a very, very good question, very relevant. To understand the answer to this question, let's go back and look at 2G. When 2G was deployed the world over, the service that was being offered was speech. And the only person offering you the capability to talk or send an SMS was a service provider. So the service provider was giving you the infrastructure, and he was also giving you the product that rode on that particular infrastructure. Over the years or over the generations of telecom, what's happened is that the infrastructure is become very, very capable. So a lot of content or product that you consume on that infrastructure is not provided by the service provider himself. So now what's happening is most of our conversation is using OTT solutions. You use it for education, and then you need somebody who's writing an app or building a solution. So what's happening is the revenues are being generated by products and solutions which the service provider has almost no control over. And he has to pay for the upkeep, maintenance, and has to listen to all the regulatory issues that go with it. So what has happened over the last 4 generations is that he's lost control over the monetization of the service that he was offering. But 5G is set to change that. With 5G, what's happened is people have become a lot more aware of what this infrastructure offers. And it is no coincidence or surprise that as we moved from 4G to 5G, there was talk of much more than just faster and lower latency connectivity. All of you would have seen that the triangle. So there's talk of enhanced mobile broadband, but there's also talk of ultra reliable low latency communication. There's also talk of concurrency, massive machine type communication. So what this does is it takes the service provider back to the drawing board, makes him realize the potential of the service that he offers, and how can he build products on top of it, and how can he become a bigger player in the ecosystem, take a chunk of the pie away from the people who are sitting on the top and building OTT. The other thing, and just to add to it, is that 5G, because of AI and because of 5G itself, all of a sudden the service provider is empowered with the ability to collect a lot more useful data about his infrastructure, about the usage patterns, and therefore he can make more considered decisions about how he can become more profitable, how can he improve the experience of the consumer, and how can he become a better part of the ecosystem. So in both ways, 5G is a very good opportunity for the service providers to come back into the game.
No, thank you for that, Mr. Lal. And I picked on one of the things that you said, ability to collect far more data about the customer. So, Mr. Biswas, I have a question for you. Now, when we're looking at AI and 5G, and obviously collection of data through those means is really going to be at a level which is exponential, and essentially an operator would really be able to know and predict what I do and almost what I think. So my question to you is that what are the privacy challenges that one would face with that kind of data? And number two is, what is the power of an operator becomes immense in every industry which touches a customer. So is there some level of a barrier that will either fall or get created to protect other industries which would potentially not have the same access of customer information that a telco would have in this scenario, but are serving customers, like banks, retail, etc. So privacy and the ability of a telco to really be monopolistic in terms of the data it controls, and hence enter into all fields associated with B2C.
Right. I think it's a very valid concern. I think we already have seen the concern in the big techs, like the way the big techs in US was kind of influencing the outcome of elections and stuff, because they control the data, they control the opinion, they control everything. And there's the same scenario everywhere. I mean, the banks knows everything about your financial things. The operators know where you move, where you go, because they have the data. They are able to collect data about each of your seconds, the talks you are having, the transactions you are having. So yes, so privacy is a big concern. I think we are still not have formulated a policy about, at least the way the Europe and the US are, like the GDPR and other things. A similar such thing yet to come in India. The data is still like whoever has it and whoever can collect it can really do wonders. And the challenge is like how to regulate it, and is there any formal way to kind of control, this is the value of your data, this is the service I am giving because the way I am collecting the data and stuff. So I think there is still a process to evolve, still a way to go. And still things are not so much clear as far as India is concerned. But I think the lessons being learned from the other countries, and especially these big tech things, how they influence the elections. So some of these lessons are coming, and I've seen the regulations coming in our OTT segment. So we saw those, there are a fair set of regulations are coming. I think these are all some of the signs of things moving and changing. For example, especially since I am from the AI, and we are working on some of these technology-based, control. Like, for example, the OTT content regulations and things. So it is manually impossible to check and verify what you are doing and how what content is getting published, who is watching what. So the rules which were set by CD, Central Board of Film Certification, those things cannot work in a OTT kind of a world. And today OTT is one of the largest data, the collectors when it comes to the about what content you are watching and how you are watching and when and with whom. So I think there is a lot of technology space here. How to regulate this content, how to regulate this data, and how to protect this data, and how to bring an umbrella of standards we already have and things, and then layer it upon in such a way that this kind of becomes a more controlled and more regulated space, rather than becoming like an explosion of informations with a few set of companies, and then it becomes a kind of influencing the outcome of the society, and also affecting some of the security concerns of the country and things. So that would be my take in this respect.
Absolutely. I think the importance of creating that framework and structure before going into full implementation of AI-backed 5G is something which would be an important consideration for the policymakers and also for the industry at large. I think
I touch upon maybe one small point, that is since this control plane and data plane are really now dismantled, and we have two very separate way of doing things. So the controlling that element will be much easier compared to the earlier networks, which was in 2G, 3G or 4G. So the 5G is a far better place to do this going forward.
Absolutely. So Mr. Jain, the question that I have for you in emanating from here is cybersecurity. And as you're implementing 5G, as you're implementing AI to back it up, You're essentially entering the homes of every individual, entering the banks, entering the retailers. It's pervasive. It's really going to be part of our everyday life. So how does cybersecurity play a role to protect not only businesses but also citizens? And we know with all of the things that happen currently, which are, you get those SMSs and phone calls, and somebody's asking a PIN number. Very recently, I got a call that someone wanted to download an app on my phone to fix a blocked SIM, and that app, when I looked at it, was essentially handing over the control of my phone to that individual. So, how does cybersecurity, what's the impact that it will have, and what do we need to do to make sure that we're secure?
Sure. I think this is a very good question and very relevant at this time, right? The combination of both the 5G and AI will actually make hackers' life easier, and at the same time, we have to make it cybersecurity much stronger with say 5G and AI. So the same product will be used by two different people opposite of each other and make more work for us. So I would say 3 points. 3 point here is there. First and foremost, whatever activity you are doing or inactivity you are doing over a period of time with artificial intelligence, that will be converted as a signature of yours, your pattern, your behavior pattern, right? And then if and it's the thing happening which is slightly different from your behavior, that potentially can be flagged as an issue. A typical artificial intelligence part, right? That part was something which I implemented several years back. Again, the challenge was the bandwidth and everything. So this is the first part of it. Second part, just remember to do this, what Mr. Biswas mentioned, right? Important part is the policies. My contribution to Niti Aayog a few years back when the data protection law was, I mentioned these parts. That the fact that when you're downloading any app and using the word any kind, they ask you access to your SMS, access to your photographs. Why? Why do we need to give access to SMS? Just because when I get OTP, I can do this? No. We should stop that. We all have given our privacy automatically. And biggest one, when we sign up for an email provider, we say, I agree to all the terms and conditions without reading a single word. We've done that. So we have already exposed ourselves big time. Now, no wonder, right? All of these things we get approved. Now, you don't need multiple failures. You just need one system administrator, one engineer who has access to your data, and then take. No wonder all this MMS get exposed. Why? Exactly, because somebody said, yes, allow my access to my SMS. You get SMS, your this many lakh rupees salary has been deposited. Now people know what your salary is. Right? Those are some, hopefully the data protection law, once it is implemented, some of those things can be prevented, some of them can be reduced. And the third part, most important, we need to be a lot more careful. The education needs to happen. Now, with pandemic, our 5-year-old kids, 6-year-old kids are having access to the mobile phone. Do they even know? Right? It's not about yes. Do we educating them at that level? I don't think. Right? And maybe too early, somebody might argue. Okay, fine. At some point, we need to educate what is right, what is not, so that people will be a lot more careful about it. Today, I don't think many people are aware what is a malware and what is the thing and how it can affect them. I think the artificial intelligence hopefully will be able to prevent some of those things from happening. Two-factor authentication, different model of authentication, probably is the answer.
Thank you for that. And Mr. Gupta, my question to you on extension would be that how do you see 5G and also the AI applications playing in or contributing to the push that the government is trying to do in defense? So number one, defense, and number two, obviously policing. And what are the applications that we think could contribute in enhancing our capabilities?
See, let me tell in short, rather going to very specifics of defense and policing. What is 5G? 5G is capable of having enormous capability to analyze data. We can take huge amount of data and educate our machines by machine learning languages. Now, application can be very different. It can be policing, it can be agriculture, it can be finance, it can be education. What exactly we want to do, that is important. But as pointed out by others, I think 2-3 issues we have to understand very clearly. Number one, no technological development has got only one side of coin.
Yeah.
They have got two sides of coins. If it has got some very good advantages, we had to be careful on the negative part of it. Similarly, if we talk about AI, machine learnings, 5G, etc., the possibility of privacy getting compromised is very high unless we have a very systematic method to stop it. People very loosely say that you can anonymize the person, and because of that you can take care of the privacy of the people. There is a story, I can say, there is a person who does this, whose behavior is like that. He goes to the office at that point of time, his office at this particular place, he comes back at this point of time and goes to residence at this point of time. Don't tell the name, I will tell you the name. So similarly, 5G and AI knows everything about you. Today we are very happy when my mobile tells me, Mr. Gupta, the time is to go to airport and you have only this much money in your bank, or you have to pay this much money for that credit card and all these things. But have we ever thought that what all he knows about me? Perhaps he knows more than what I know myself about me. So these are the challenges. Where to put a line is also important. Now you said police. I can give all the data, and with all the data and AI, all information can be found out, even those information which I don't want to share. But then how police is going to use it, whether it is going to be the violation of my right of privacy, that are the issues to be seen, and that are the issues to be decided, that what flexibility has to be given. I would say in simple language that AI and 5G are powerful tools. How to use it? If you have a gun can be used in your favor and can be used to destroy also. So how you are going to use that, that's very important. The training of people is very, very crucial issue. Unfortunately, the development of technology is pretty fast. India is a big country with a mix of the people, and training them and educating them on either cyber security or the disadvantages of various things are not an easy task. It's very, very difficult to educate. Today also there are 40% people who are not very eager to use a smartphone. And now we are talking about 5G and artificial intelligence. So the gap between the users is pretty high, and we have to be very, very careful about it. I intentionally didn't want to comment on the capability in particularly two sector what you have mentioned, but yes, there are huge capabilities and they can use in any site. Thank you.
Fair enough. Thank you. So we've got I think last 10 minutes or so to go, and if I can request the panelists to give their closing remarks. It's been a very, very interesting discussion across a broad spectrum. So Mr. Biswas, if I can start from you, and then Mr. Jain from the screen onwards, Mr. Lal Neha.
I think Dr. Gupta talked about the perils and advantages of any technology and its combination. So always we have to be watchful and guarded, and especially in the leadership positions, people who are there, they should know how to. They should be able to use it at their for the best interest of the humanity. So I was just going to comment on the point of singularity. So I think we are in that singularity where the human intelligence is probably slightly lesser than machine intelligence, and if not already, there are machines that are already beating in decision process. There are diagnoses the machines are doing far better than humans. The doctors are actually checking their performance whether it is good or not. So we are in that threshold of the time where the singularity has come, and with these two very powerful technology, 5G and AI, there is a lot of responsibility for the policymakers, for the users, for everyone in the society and stakeholders has to use this powerful technology for the greater cause or greater benefit of humanity, uplifting the people. I mean, we still have in our country at a very lower pyramid strata. So how to uplift them, how to reach the services and the benefits to the lowermost strata of the people. I think that should be the focus rather than the top of the pyramid focus. I think technology should always try to do that as we are nearing to this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jain.
Yeah. So my concluding remarks here is, I think definitely there is no doubt that there is a good power, higher power with 5G and AI. I think the people need to start coming up with the scenarios, what Mr. Biswas mentioned. The important part is a little bit of focus on the research part of it. I'm associated with a couple of universities where we started doing some research in this area, and also education, right? So, like for example, a degree, like how many universities are right now providing degree in the machine learning, AI, intelligence, or even fine? Probably zero, right? Few industry have just started doing it last year, and a few more will come. I think that level will be the second one, the use cases, the research and some growth. And finally, I would say yes, top of the pyramid when we talk about the YouTubes and the Amazon Primes and Netflix, they leverage artificial intelligence very well to give recommendations. The same thing when we apply to the social society at large. I think there are a lot more values we can add to those. So yes, I think some partnership between the corporates and some of the NGO would definitely help. Yes, we started doing that a couple of years back, even at that. I think those are working out very well. I think those are something people have to take on their responsibility.
Yeah. Now, the two things I want to talk about in the closing remarks. The first is when we talk artificial intelligence, we should understand that today, when we talk intelligence, we actually mean knowledge and not imagination. Real intelligence is imagination. So, real AI is some distance away. So, let's not worry too much there. But yes, we have to be careful because we are allowing the machines to take a lot of decisions based on what we teach them. Okay, so the machines are trained, and these trainings that we do are incomplete at times, and at other times, some people could maliciously mistrain them. So that's point number one. The point number two is that as the tool gets stronger, as the ability of the underlying technology gets stronger and stronger, there is an opportunity to bridge the divide between the haves and have-nots. But that onus then starts lying a lot more on the regulator and the policymaker than the people, because stronger the tool, left to itself, it will only increase the divide. So regulation and policy become of paramount importance. Privacy is not per se an issue. The problem is not how much I share. The problem is who I share it with. To give you an example, if I want my butler to serve me well, he has to know a lot about me. What do I eat at what times? What is the particular dress that should be ready for a particular day? What time will I return on a certain night? So I choose to give this information to that person because I want to be served better. The problem is not about sharing information about myself. The problem is who has access to it. Are the data leaks being plugged? Are the regulators ensuring that the uninitiated do not by mistake share information that they do not need to? So that's the other point. So the role of the regulator and policymakers is more important than ever. Thank you.
Thank you.
On a lighter note, let me tell that machines are learning a lot and individuals are leaving that. So you can see the future that where we are leading to. Perhaps machines are going to be more powerful than the individuals. I completely agree with my co-panelists that it is not that we should not share the data, but we should take precaution as to who is collecting the data and whom he is sharing with the data. One caution that when we are implementing 5G and AI, we should implement with correct methodology, adopt networks which are sensibly providing these services, not that as we are experiencing today. Thirdly, what are the applications which are useful has to be pre-tested, because international experience can always not be replicated, and India is a very different country. What all is being done internationally may not be appropriately applicable to the Indian scenario. So let us deliberate on that particular thing. And on final note, 5G and AI is no more the only domain of the telecom service provider. It's a much bigger game plan. It requires telecom service provider, it requires equipment developer, it requires system integrator, it requires app developers, it requires too many people. And everybody has to work together. the present scenario of the data center which is available in data in India requires to be boosted up a lot, maybe several 100 or 1000%, so that the data which is generated hugely in India remains in India and it can be protected well. Thank you.
So as a CEO of Telecom Sector Skill Council, I personally feel that more we hear about 5G and IoT and artificial intelligence, cyber security, all these things, actually it is a great opportunity for Indian youth. Actually, in the world, today India is known as probably the best country when it comes to IT. And telecom and IT is today, merging, it is basically overlapping each other. Telecom is nothing more and more IT today. So what it is doing is that all our youth are going to have great opportunities for future. As you all know that even most of the telecom companies, international companies, either at Indian CEOs or they have got a very big support centers operating from India. So a lot of global networks are actually run by managed services being done from Bangalore, Noida and all those places. So it is giving a great opportunity for Indian youth. So Prime Minister's the Skill India program, I think their telecom sector skill council can contribute a lot. We will be actually doing a lot of programs around that. Now, when we are talking about 5G, I think the biggest thing, as I was hearing Dr. Gupta and others, I think the biggest point which is coming is 5G is becoming a big leveler. There was a time when a person who was living in metro versus somebody who was working or who was studying in tier 4 town, opportunities were very different. Today, because of online learning, I think the youth who is in tier 3, tier 4 town has got the same knowledge, opportunity and learning ability what was there in metro town. And this is all happening because more and more 5G deployment, that means a real online classroom will be available even in Ladakh and absolute remote area, and I think we'll be seeing a big change. So in my opinion, I think whatsoever this development is happening, 5G, artificial intelligence, and one small point, like a lot of people think that artificial intelligence is going to take away a lot of jobs. Like for example, if bots are coming, so call center jobs will reduce. But in my opinion, I think jobs are shifting, moving. So a lot of new jobs will be created, and we'll be skilling youth and actually trying to utilize them for those services.
Thank you so much. And if I can say a few words, I think this is an opportunity for us to leapfrog and become the digital leaders of the world. I think there has never been an opportunity like this for India. It's for all of us to take advantage, skilling, getting the right policies in place for the next step on 5G, AI, putting the right infrastructure, getting the right of way, or as Mr. Gupta put it, the right light in your house, customers, research, creating the right platforms for AI and developing the use cases. I think there's a phenomenal journey ahead of us. And from whatever we hear in this panel and outside in the communities, India's got a real advantage to become the leader as far as 5G, AI, digital goes. So with that, thank you very much, all panelists. It was wonderful to be moderating this, and I really appreciate the opportunity. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to all the esteemed speakers. May I now request Mr. Mrityunjay Kapoor to felicitate the speakers on behalf of Exhibitions India Group with a small memento. Shri S.K. Gupta, Secretary TRI. Can we have a round of applause for him? Dr. Brijesh Lal, Professor Electrical Engineering Department, IIT Delhi. Mr. Arvind Bali, CEO, Telecom Sector Skill Council. I would request Mr. Dhruv Behel to hand over the memento to Mr. Mrityunjay Kapoor, Head of Technology, Media, Telecom Sector, KPMG in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Thank you, sir. It was a very informative session. Thanks. I would also like to thank Mr. Biswajit Biswas, Chief Data Scientist, Tata Elxsi, and Mr. Mukesh Jain, CTO of Innovation and Officer, Campkini,